Ladies and gentlemen, saints and survivors, I came here tonight with a word. Not just a word for your ears, but a word for your soul. This is not just another speech. This is a declaration, a divine interruption, a spiritual wake-up call for every woman who has ever lost herself trying to keep someone else whole. The title of my message is, When a Woman Chooses Herself Over a Man. And I know already just the sound of that shakes the room, stirs the waters, and rattles the gates of tradition. But hear me, this is not rebellion. This is resurrection, because there comes a moment in a woman's life when the weight she carries no longer feels like purpose. It feels like prison, and it is in that moment when her smile fades behind sacrifice, when her silence becomes survival, when her soul starts whispering, save yourself first. It is in that holy, terrifying, liberating moment that she siawasias herself. Oh, I feel the spirit moving already, because this word is not about bitterness, it's about boundaries. It's not about hate, it's about healing. It's not about pride, it's about preservation. And somebody in this room is about to break generational chains with one decision: I choose ME. So sit tight, open your heart, and fasten your spirit, because when a woman chooses herself over a man, she doesn't lose love, she finds life. When a woman chooses herself, the world will often call her selfish. They'll say she gave up too soon, that she turned her back on love, that she should have tried harder, prayed longer, cried more tears, carried more weight. But what they don't see is what it cost her to keep choosing someone who never chose her in return. They don't see the sleepless nights spent wrestling with silent pain. They don't see the quiet suffering behind the smiles, the heavy sights behind the strength, the identity buried beneath duty. Choosing herself is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of self-rescue, because there comes a point when losing yourself becomes too high a price to pay just to say, I stayed. You see, the enemy doesn't always come dressed in disaster. Sometimes he comes dressed in comfort, in patterns we've normalized, in people we've overloved. And the most dangerous thing a woman can do is abandon her divine identity to maintain a connection that drains her. A woman will endure in silence for years, raising his children, cleaning his mess, covering his flaws, and shrinking her light so he can shine. But let me tell you, God did not create you to disappear behind someone else's shadow. God didn't fashion you in his image just to watch you break, trying to hold together what he never told you to build. And while the world may call it quitting, heaven calls it awakening. When a woman finally decides that her voice matters, that her dreams matter, that her peace matters, she's not walking away from love, she's walking toward herself. And there is no apology needed for coming back home to your soul. We've glorified sacrifice so much that we've mistaken codependency for commitment. But there's a difference between helping someone grow and being buried in their dysfunction. There's a difference between endurance and erasure. So no, sis, choosing yourself doesn't mean you didn't love him. It means you finally learned how to love you. And there is no greater breakthrough than the one where a woman looks in the mirror and says, I deserve to live. Because survival isn't just breathing. It's being whole. And sometimes wholeness means walking away from what's familiar, even if it leaves you walking alone. A woman's heart is one of the most powerful forces on earth. When she loves, she gives completely, mind, body, and soul. She will pour out every ounce of herself, trying to build a man, believing in his potential, praying over his pain, and carrying his burdens like they were her own. But what happens when the pouring never stops and the cup never gets refilled? What happens when the healing she's trying to give him begins to break her? Let me tell you, there is a dangerous lie many women have been taught, that if you just love him enough, he'll change. If you just endure enough, he'll grow. If you suffer long enough, he'll finally see you. But healing is not something you can force on someone who refuses to be whole. Some women are bleeding emotionally, spiritually, and mentally, trying to nurse a man who has no intention of getting well. You can't perform surgery on a soul that doesn't want to be touched. You can't deliver a man who's addicted to his dysfunction. And yet, too many women have confused being needed with being valued. They stay in cycles of pain, thinking their love will save him. That if they just keep bleeding, maybe he'll finally see her worth. But how long will you hemorrhage before you realize he's not your assignment? He's your lesson. You are not a hospital. You are not a rehab center. You are a nurse to his wounds while yours go untreated. When a woman forgets to tend her own soul because she's consumed with fixing his, she begins to disappear. And slowly, her laughter fades, her dreams die, her joy withers, and all that's left is a shell of the woman she used to be. That's not love, that's slow death. And the tragedy is that many women believe enduring this is what makes them loyal. No, sis, loyalty to a man should never require betrayal of yourself. There is a difference between support and sacrifice. There's a line between helping and harming. When your presence becomes the reason he refuses to grow, you are not helping, you are enabling. And there is no glory in becoming collateral damage in someone else's healing process. Sometimes the most loving thing you do is step back and let him face his own demons. You're not cold. You're not heartless. You're finally choosing to stop bleeding over someone who won't stop cutting. Because no matter how powerful your love is, no matter how deep your prayers are, healing will always be a personal choice. And if he won't choose healing, you must choose yourself. You were never called to die, saving someone who keeps rejecting the cure. Love was never meant to feel like suffocation. It was never meant to steal your voice, shrink your dreams, or chain you to someone else's brokenness. Love, in its purest form, lifts you. It breathes life into you. It nourishes your spirit and empowers your identity. But somewhere along the way, too many women have been taught that suffering is proof of devotion. They've been taught to equate endurance with love, to measure their worth by how much pain they can tolerate in the name of staying loyal. But let me be clear, love that buries you is not love, it's bondage. A woman will often stay in a place that's killing her emotionally because she was conditioned to believe that leaving is failure. So she prays harder, cries quietly, suppresses her truth, and performs emotional CPR on a relationship that's been flatlining for years. But true love doesn't kill your spirit. It doesn't leave you walking on eggshells or hiding your light. It doesn't silence your soul to protect someone else's ego. Real love sees you, covers, and grows with you. Real love doesn't require you to disappear in order to keep the peace. Too many women are dying slowly in the name of love, dying to their calling, dying to their creativity, dying to their confidence. They confuse control with care. They interpret manipulation as passion. They accept crumbs and call it a feast because they've never known what it's like to be fully fed emotionally. But when you finally come into the revelation that love is not supposed to drain you, it's supposed to develop you, something shifts. You stop apologizing for your standards. You stop excusing disrespect. You stop calling dysfunction normal. Love should lift you. It should inspire the best in you, not exhaust the rest of you. If the relationship constantly leaves you feeling like you're too much, not enough, or in the way, that's not a safe space. That's a silent storm. And just because the world says, at least he stayed, doesn't mean you're safe. Staying means nothing if you're stuck in a place where your soul is dying. Love is not pain management. It is not your job to carry a man who refuses to walk. If being with him constantly costs your peace, your power, your purpose, then you must ask yourself, is this love or is this survival? You deserve a love that doesn't leave you questioning your worth every day. You deserve a love that holds your hand in your heart, because the truth is, when love is real, it doesn't pull you under. It lifts you higher. Peace is not loud. It doesn't scream for attention. It doesn't compete with chaos or beg to be noticed. Peace is subtle. It's soft. It's sacred. And when a woman chooses herself over a man, one of the first signs that she made the right decision is the peace that follows, not the temporary relief of walking away, but the deep, holy stillness that comes when your soul is no longer at war with itself. Because before peace ever shows up in your surroundings, it settles first in your spirit. It whispers, you're safe now, you're free now, you made it out. So many women stay in toxic places not because they don't know it's toxic, but because they've confused comfort with peace. Just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's peaceful. Just because you've learned how to survive in the storm doesn't mean the storm has stopped. Peace is not the absence of conflict. It's the absence of internal torment. It's when you no longer have to defend your worth, when you no longer walk on eggshells trying to be enough, when you wake up in the morning and your heart isn't heavy from pretending. There is a divine confirmation that comes when your spirit is finally in alignment with your decision, when you walk away from someone who didn't honor you, didn't cover you, didn't see you, and you don't feel regret, but release. That's peace. And no matter how much the world tries to guilt you, no matter how many people question your choice, you know what they don't know. You didn't leave out of anger. You left out of survival. You left to live. And in the quiet, you found yourself again. Peace is also the fruit of boundaries. When you stop tolerating what drains you, peace becomes your reward. When you stop answering to chaos, peace answers you. And let me tell you, peace is not passive. It's powerful. It will guard your heart, protect your mind, and become a compass for your future. When you've tasted true peace, you'll never again let someone disturb your spirit just to keep them close. You'll never again settle for noise when you've learned how to be whole in silence. God will often confirm your decision not with applause, but with peace, not with explanations, but with quiet clarity. And that kind of peace doesn't just come from walking away. It comes from walking in purpose, because when you finally choose yourself, heaven aligns, the storm settles, the noise fades, and your soul stands still, not because everything is perfect, but because you are no longer pretending that chaos is love. Peace is the proof that you listened to God, trusted yourself, and dared to protect your promise. There's a dangerous lie that has been down through generation as that a good woman is supposed to lose herself for love. That if she sacrifices enough, suffers enough, silences herself enough, she will earn the right to be loved in return. But the devil is a liar. God never called you to be a sacrifice on someone else's altar. He didn't breathe life into your lungs and destiny into your soul just for you to lay it all down at the feet of a man who doesn't recognize the value of what you carry. You are not an offering to be consumed. You are a temple, sacred, chosen, and filled with divine purpose. So many women have confused being Christ, like with becoming crucified in relationships that are emotionally abusive, spiritually manipulative, or mentally exhausting. But here, this loud and clear, Jesus already died to save someone. You don't have to. You're not the savior, you're the daughter. And daughters don't die trying to be enough. Daughters rise up and walk in the authority of who they are, not the approval of who someone else wants them to be. When a woman consistently gives all of herself in a relationship that only takes, she becomes a martyr to a man's brokenness. She lays her calling down, hides her dreams, silences her voice, and trades her crown for crumbs, believing that this is what loyalty looks like. But God never asked you to prove your worth through suffering. The cross is already occupied. Your job is not to bleed quietly while someone else gets hold off your sacrifice. Your job is to recognize that your body, your mind, your soul is not a battleground for someone else's healing. God didn't call you to be a doormat. He called you to be a door, an entryway into the divine legacy He placed inside of you. And that means not everyone gets to walk through. Not everyone has the right key. And you must stop allowing people to enter who were never meant to stay. Some women keep sacrificing themselves in hopes that the man will finally see her. But what if he already sees you and just doesn't value you? What if your sacrifice has become his comfort zone and your suffering has made it easy for him to never grow? It's time to realize that sacrifice without reciprocation is not spiritual. It's self-destruction. You were not created to be consumed. You were created to be celebrated, cherished, and aligned with someone who sees you not as an altar, but as a gift. So stop laying yourself down where God never told you to kneel. Stop offering your heart to people who only come to take. You are not called to bleed for love. You are called to be loved fully, freely, and without condition. And that starts when you stop sacrificing yourself and start standing in your worth